Okay, so here is the how to do. We're continuing on with problems number 7 on our review. So we're adding and subtracting rational expressions. So since we're adding and subtracting, we need to make sure we have the common denominator, which means that the denominator for both fractions needs to be the same. Now, luckily, we see in this situation, the denominator is the same. We've got 8k plus 4 here, 8k plus 4 here. So basically what we're going to do is, step 1, we're going to rewrite the fraction over our common denominator. So I'll put my common denominator at the bottom. Then I'm just going to rewrite my fractions. 17k plus 3 plus 3k plus 7. So I've rewritten my fraction. Now I'm going to combine my like terms. The like terms are going to be the ones with the k in it there. So I've got 17k and 3k. When I combine those, I'm going to have 20k. My other like term are going to be the numbers without the variables. So 3 plus 7 is going to give me 10. My denominator stays the same. Make sure that when you combine those, you are not adding your denominators together. The denominator does not change. So now that I've got this, I'm going to look to see if I've got a greatest common factor. Because I know that I cannot reduce when they're in a binomial state. I have to factor out a greatest common factor. I can only reduce when multiplying. Okay, so I'm going to look for greatest common factor, and in the top I notice that I've got 10, could be my greatest common factor there, 2k plus 1. When I take 10 out of both of these, my greatest common factor here is going to be 4. And I've got 2k plus 1. Because when I divide 8k by 4, I'm left with 2k. And same with this. When I multiply these back, I should get this exact answer if I were to multiply those back. Now I can see that I can cross out the 2k plus 1 over the 2k plus 1 because that would equal 1. Then I can also reduce my fraction of 10 over 4 into 2 goes into 10 5 times, 2 goes into 4 2 times. And that is that problem. Okay, so now we're going to do number 10. Now, since we're adding and subtracting, we're still adding and subtracting. We're subtracting here. We still need a common denominator. There is no common denominator here. So we have to create one. So the first thing we're going to do is factor. And I'm going to factor both the top, the numerator, and the denominator. So for my numerator, I'm going to say what two numbers are going to multiply to give me negative 51 and add to give me 2. And I'm going to figure out very quickly that if I have 51 divided by x and go to my table, I've got 17 and 3 and 17 and 3 and 1 and 51. So none of those are going to work. So I'm not going to even try and factor that first one. So then the bottom one, I'm going to say what multiplies to give me negative 27 and adds to give me negative 6. I'm going to leave this numerator the same. Then I'm going to factor this into P. What two numbers are going to multiply and give me 27 and add to give me negative 6? That would be negative 9 and positive 3. So p minus 9, p plus 3, minus 4 over p plus 3. So I still do not have a common denominator. So I need to create a common denominator for that fraction. So the common denominator is going to include p minus 9 times p plus 3. This one already has the p plus 3, so I'm going to need to multiply it by p minus 9 over p minus 9. So at the bottom, my numerator is going to be p squared plus 2p minus 51 minus 4 times p minus 9. Now, when I multiply these two, I have a common denominator. Since it's a common denominator and we are subtracting, the common denominator does not change. So p minus 9, p plus 3. Okay, at that point, now we need to multiply all of this out and see if I can combine like terms. So I'm going to have p squared plus 2p minus 51. Then when I multiply negative 4p, and then negative 4 times negative 9 is positive 36. All over my common denominator. Now when I combine my like terms, I'm going to get p squared minus 2p. And then when I add negative 51 and positive 36, I'm going to get negative 15 all over p minus 9 times p plus 3. Now I'm going to see if I can factor this any further. So do I have two numbers that are going to multiply to give me negative 15 and add to give me negative 2? And that would be p minus 5, p plus 3, all over p minus 9, p plus 3. At this point, I see that I have a common factor in both. I can cross those out, and my answer would be right here. So for these, the hardest part is number 1, creating your common denominator, then multiplying everything out, combining your like terms, refactoring, and then simplifying. Alright, let's try and do another one like those because I kind of find that those are confusing. So we're going to go to the second page of the review on Unit 8, Homework 4, on that number 10 problem, which is similar. It's the same type of a problem, except for you're adding instead of subtracting, but you still do not have a common denominator. So, and you have a little bit bigger factoring problem because you've got a number in front of your m squared. So you're going to first have to factor this. You're going to find a common denominator. And so my first step is to find what is going to be a common denominator. So I'm going to first factor 3m squared minus 14m minus 5. And I'm going to use my big X. So 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Negative 14. The two numbers that are going to multiply and give me that are going to be negative 15 and positive 1. Then we can do the grouping, which is 3m squared minus 15m plus 1m minus 5. Then when I group, I'm going to take out a 3m and I'm left with m minus 5 plus, take out a 1, and I'm left with m minus 5. So my two factors are 3m plus 1 and m minus 5. Now luckily, this fraction has 3m plus 1 in the denominator. So this will be my common denominator, or this. These are the two of the same things. I'm going to leave it in factored form because it'll be a little bit easier in the long run. So my common denominator is going to be, in factored form, 3m plus 1 times m minus 5. I still need to create this as a common denominator. So when I'm left with 2 times 3m plus 1, to get this common denominator, I'm going to multiply by m minus 5 over m minus 5. And I'm left with 2 times m minus 5. So I've got 2 times m minus 5 as this fraction plus 19m plus 17. So when I multiply this out, I'm going to have 2m minus 10 plus 19m, and since I'm adding, I don't need to worry about distributing my negative. If I was subtracting, I'd need to remember to distribute my negative. 3m plus 1 times m minus 5. Now I'm going to combine my like terms, which is my m values, and I'm going to get 21m and these two, which is going to be plus 7 all over 3m plus 1 m minus 5. Then hopefully you can see that you can factor out a 7 out of that top, out of your numerator. When I factor out a 7, I'm left with 3m plus 1 divided by 3m plus 1 times m minus 5. And luckily now we can cross your 3m plus 1 over 3m plus 1, and my answer would be 7 over m minus 5. So hopefully that will make a little bit of sense.